My name's Lewis O'Brien. Over the past 25 years, I've helped clients, friends, and family buy and sell thousands of homes. In these 5-minute guides, I'm going to cover a series of topics that I think all home buyers should be aware of. However, unfortunately, too many home buyers don't know that they need to know these things or don't know who to ask. So let's get on with it. A problem that emerges all too often is a purchaser who's unhappy with the condition of the property in one respect or another at settlement. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the sorts of problems that arise and how you might prevent them. Because unfortunately, once the contract is signed, and particularly once settlement's occurred, it's a bit too late in practical terms to do anything about it. The first sort of problem is where appliances are either missing, i.e. have been removed by the vendor, or aren't in a working condition at settlement. The other sort of problem is where the house is left in a mess, so it's not clean and tidy as a prospective homeowner might expect. So let's look at how we might do something. Set out on this slide is General Condition 24.2. This is a fairly common formulation of what the vendor's obligations are. I might just wait a moment and give you a chance to actually read the words. In simple terms, the vendor's obligation is to deliver the property to you in the same condition it was in on the date the contract was signed, with an allowance for fair wear and tear. Let me illustrate with a practical example. If you're buying an older home and the hot water system breaks down after you sign the contract but before settlement, the vendor is quite likely going to argue that that was fair wear and tear because 10-year-old hot water systems are known to fail, in which case the responsibility to replace the hot water system would fall on you as purchaser and not the vendor. On the other hand, if the vendor backs their car into the hot water system, that's clearly not fair wear and tear, and the vendor would be expected to either fix or replace the hot water system before settlement. If the vendor is in breach of these obligations, you may, and I say may, have the right to retain funds at settlement to cover the costs of minor repairs and cleaning. However, there are some strings attached. The first thing to be aware of is that many vendors delete this provision from the general conditions. Second of all, if there is a failure on the vendor's part to deliver the property, you can retain up to $5,000 at settlement, but on the condition that you as purchaser pay an equal amount of money and that these funds go into trust and essentially the issue is resolved later on. This is better than nothing, but it is not the easiest way to resolve a problem quickly. Rather than rely on general conditions, I think a special condition is more appropriate and better protects the interests of a purchaser. For example, we can specify in a special condition that the vendor will leave the property clean and tidy at settlement. This is sort of implicit in the standard general conditions, but not entirely clear, so it's always better to be clearer about it. Second of all, we can insert a further special condition to the effect that if the vendor breaches this requirement, we as purchasers can retain at settlement the expected cost of getting a contractor in to complete the cleaning work that wasn't done by the vendor. The next thing to pay attention to is what chattels and appliances are included in the sale. Sometimes things like dishwashers and air conditioners can be a little open to dispute. The way to solve this dispute before it arises is to make sure that the list of appliances and other items that you expect to be included in the sale are carefully set out in the particulars of sale. We should also ask for a warranty from the vendor, i.e. a special condition, to the effect that all the major appliances in the property are in working order and will be in working order prior to settlement. Again, we may need a provision that if they're not, funds can be retained at settlement to cover the cost of reinstating them to working order. To put all of this in context, many vendors are honourable and decent people who leave the property in better condition than it was when you signed the contract and make sure everything is working and take some pride in making sure that their purchaser will happily move into the property. On the other hand, there are those vendors that really aren't interested in the purchaser and are trying to minimise their own expense and inconvenience. Unfortunately, it's hard to tell the difference in advance, so I think it's important to have the right sort of special conditions to make sure that moving into your new home is the happy and exciting experience it should be. I hope you've enjoyed this video and got some value from it. If you have, then I'd encourage you to share it with a friend, like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel, or subscribe to our newsletter at lewisobrien.com.au. We do intend to create a series of videos, but your feedback and suggestions will be invaluable.